boys and girls. How are you? I hope all of you are having a wonderful, wonderful day. My invisible plane is actually in the shop right now. It's getting a tune-up. So I thought to pass the time while we wait, I would read you guys a book. The book that I chose today is Curious George, one of my favorites. Jimmy's class was taking a field trip to the museum, and George was going along. "We're glad to have you, George," said Mr. Chauncey, the teacher, "but don't get into trouble." At the museum, Mr. Chauncey began to explain one of the displays. These rocks are millions of years old. The students weren't listening. "That's really old, isn't it?" "This is boring," said a student. "It really is," said another. "When is lunchtime?" asked a third. "What did you have for lunch today?" George wandered off. He didn't find the rocks very interesting either. But in the next room, George saw something very interesting. It was a huge skeleton. What a long tail. It was too much for George to resist. He stepped over the rope and jumped onto the tail. He climbed down, then he climbed up. He climbed up, and he reached the skeleton's head. Just then, Mr. Chauncey and the class came into the room. "That's funny, huh?" "Silly George." "Look at that dinosaur," said Jimmy. "And look at George," he shouted. "Ride him, George," cried a girl. The guards heard the noise. "Get down from there," ordered one of them. "I'm going to go get the director," said the other. George was scared. "Is this how they rode dinosaurs in the old days?" a girl asked Mr. Chauncey. "Well, no," he said. "Tell us more about dinosaurs," somebody said. George was curious. What was a dinosaur? "Well," said Mr. Chauncey, "the earth was once full of huge creatures like this." Suddenly, the director of the museum came charging in. "What is this about a monkey on our dinosaur?" he asked. "Guards, get that monkey down before he causes any damage," he ordered. Poor George. There he was on top of the dinosaur with no place to hide. "Just a moment," said Mr. Chauncey. "George was a great help to me. He got the children interested in dinosaurs." "We wouldn't have listened," said a boy. "It's so interesting," said another. "I want to come back again," said the girl. "Well," said the director, "I can see that our dinosaur isn't damaged. We'll forgive him this time." "You can come down, George," he called. "Hooray!" the student shouted. Mr. Chauncey said, "I have to thank you for making the visit an interesting one, George, but next time, promise not to ride a dinosaur." When the bus stopped in front of George's house, the man in the yellow hat was waiting. "I'm glad to see you, George," he said. "I hope you kept out of trouble today." Thank you so much for joining us for reading time. I hope you enjoyed that book as much as I did. Bye now.